Base 12. The state lechem are subject to Meila from when they're consecrated. Once they crusted the onion, they become prepared to be too qualified through contact with a tebel yom, or through contact with a makusek chapurim, and they become fit to slaughter the shalamim, offering on account of them. Once the blood of the lambs is sprinkled upon the altar, one is liable on account of the shtei lechem, the pigel noso atame, and they are no longer subject to Meila. The lechem upon him is subject to Meila from when it is consecrated. Once it crusted the oven, it becomes prepared to be disqualified through contact with the tebel yom, through contact with the makusa chubim, and we become fit to be arranged upon the shulchan. Once the spoons of levana are offered upon the altar, one is liable on account of the lechem upon him, the pickle, nosa atome, and the lechem upon him is no longer subject to Meila. The milk offerings are subject to Meila from when they are consecrated. Once they are consecrated in a sacred service vessel, they become prepared to be disqualified through contact with the tebel yom, through contact with the makusa chubim, or through remaining past their time. Once the kumet is offered upon the altar, one is liable on account of the milk for pickle, noser atome, and the remnants are not subject to Meila, but the kumet is subject to Meila until it goes out to the place of ashes.
Okay. So the kumet itself, the lavona, the frankincense, ketoris, the incense, minchas kohanim, any mincha that's brought by a kohen, remember that's always burned in its entirety. Minchas kohen Mashiach, and also the specific offering of the kohen Mashiach is also burned entirely. Minchas nesachim, and all the menachos that come as part of libations. Moalin bahen misha hukdeshu. From the moment that they are sanctified, they declared sanctified, they are there's a din of Meila on them immediately. Kadshu b'kli, once they've been put into a service vessel, hochshu li'pasel b'tvul yom or b'mechus hakipurim. So now they can ubelina. So then again, this is before about the mechus hakipurim and the tvul yom may if they touch it, they cause it to become puzzle. And they become chayav to for nosar and tame if they become tame or if somebody eats them. But pigul, there's no din of pigul. Now, why is there no din of pigul? Because if you recall, pigul is something that can only kick in if there is an external matir. I mean, if pigul only works if the matir, remember the matir is the thing that normally permits the other thing. So, for example, with a standard korban, the matir is the blood service, right? Receiving shchita, receiving the blood, sprinkling blood. Those are all things that are considered materium. And so, if the pigul, if you have pigul intention during the matir and nothing else goes wrong, like for example, if he has a thoughts of chutzlim komo, then that removes pigul. It's still pasul, but it removes pigul. So a pigul is only pigul if everything else is perfect. Okay, and if there's no matir, then you can't have pigul either. So if the service itself can just be done straight away, then it's the matir for itself, and it's not and there's no din of pigul at all. So the Mishna spells that out. Zehaklal, kol sheyesh lo matirin, anything that has a matir, ein chayivin alav mishum pigul noser v'tamei ad sheyikruvu matirav. So there's no din of pigul noser v'tamei on it until the matirin are also brought. Okay, but if it doesn't have a matir, where it itself is the only thing that needs to be done, like the comets, just or the minchas kohanim, there's nothing that stands between it and the mizbeach except itself. Okay, anything that doesn't have a matir, as soon as it goes into a service vessel, then straight away you have a chiyuv of because of if it's left overnight, or if it becomes tamei and he eats it. Pigul einbo. There's just no such halacha of pigul. It's not in the parasha of pigul. Okay. Perek Gimel, Vlad chatas. Now, remember we spoke about the different types of chatas that have to be left to die. So we've got and there are 5 different types of chatas that get left to die, and we're going to look at them from the perspective of Meila now. Okay, so Vlad chatas, so chatas that gave birth. Okay, so it's offspring. What do you do with that? Tamuras chatas, or if you did tamura on a chatas, or chatas shemmeisub aleha,
I'm just sorry, Shaw. It starts off differently here. Unless I'm wrong. It says the offspring of a katos, the tomorrow of a katos, and the katos whose owners have died or left to die.
Correct. Yes, that's exactly what I'm reading.
Okay, so I don't know why I got mixed up over there. All right. Do you mind starting just from the beginning of that?
Okay. Yeah. So as you said, these must be left to die. Okay. She'avra shenasa she'avda. Now, what happens if it was left until it was older than a year? Because the chatas has to be under a year old. Okay, and it's year past, or else it was lost. Balas mum, and then they found it to be a balas mum afterwards. Okay, what do you do with it? If the owners had already received a kapara with another animal, tamos, then those animals have to be left to die. However, if it's still outstanding and the balim still have to bring their own chatas. Okay, so wait. First of all, let's just finish this case of where it does have to be left to die. So once it has to be left to die, eina osatamora, then having lost its kedusha, it cannot affect tamora. Velo nenim, and it is prohibited to get benefit from it. Velo moalin, but there's no din meila on these animals. Once they've lost the ability to be a korban, they also have no din of meila from this point on. If, however, let's say the animal was lost and the owners designated a new chatas, and then before they brought it, the first one was found. Okay, so now he's got two living animals in front of him, both of which he could bring for his chatas. Okay, so now he's going to have to choose between one of them, between the two of them. He takes one of them. Okay, so now tirad shetistayev. Now that's the case where it doesn't have to die. You put it back into the flock, and it can graze until it develops a mum, and it can be sold. Okay, remember, and he can bring with the money of this one. Acheres is for the case of where it was it went past its year, because then he hasn't yet necessarily designated another one, or if it just develops a mum. If it develops a mum after it disappeared or whatever, then he can use the money to buy another chatas. Okay, but while this animal has still got some sort of kedusha, it can still affect tamura. Okay, and there's still a full din of meila that if he used it for his personal uses, for a chulin use, then he has to bring a korban meila and pay the restitution.
Okay.
Okay. Mishna Gimel Hamafrish Maos leNaziruso. Okay, so a guy takes he's finishing his term of Nazirus, and he puts aside money to buy the korbanos that he needs to bring at the end of his Nazirus. So that money, having been designated, lo nenin v'lo molin, there's no din meila on this money, mipnei shehin re'uyin lavo kulan shlamim, because one of the korbanos that he has to bring is a shlamim. And it could be that he decides to spend all of that money that he set aside on a big korban shlamim. So there's no din of meila yet on that money, since the potential is there that he could just use all of it for the shlamim and add in extra to buy the other korbanos that do have meila. Okay, mace. Okay, now what happens if the owner dies and he's left over this money for his nazirus? If he hadn't yet designated what the money was specifically for, in terms of this is for the shlamim and this is for the asham, and yiplun and dava, then all of the money goes into the chest in the temple for nadavas, and it'll be used to buy olos. Okay, hayum for Hashem. Now he had actually separated out the money and put it into piles and said, this is for my shlamim and this is for my asham. Okay. So demei chatas yelchu chatas. Okay, so demei chatas yelchu yamamelach. He set aside money for a chatas. That's money for a chatas for whose owner has died. There's nothing you can do with it. If it was an animal, it would be left to die. But since it's money, it gets thrown into the yamamelach. Lo nenim. You may not benefit from this money, but there is no din of meila. Okay. Demei ola. Now he has to bring an ola as well as part of his korbanos. Yaviu Ola. Okay, so they his heirs can use that money to bring an Ola because you can bring voluntary Ola. The Shlamim, Yaviu Shlamim. Same thing with the Shlamim. You can bring voluntary Shlamim. So the money that was set aside for that must be brought for Shlamim. However, it has the stringency of the korban of a Nazir, because normally Shlamim you've got 2 days to eat from, but with korban the Shlamim of a Nazir only have 1 day and that night. So it has that stringency that it has to be eaten within that shorter time frame. And normally the Nazir brings bread along with his shlamim, but since it's not actually being brought for a Nazir, there's no need to bring any bread along with it. Okay, and that's 3 Mishnayos for the day. Okay, Christos, hey Rav.
If there is a piece of chalev and a piece of sanctified fat, if he ate some of them, it is not known, but it is not known which one of them he ate, he must bring an asham tal. If he ate the second piece, he must bring a takatos and an additional asham. If one person ate the first piece and another came and ate the second piece, this one must bring an asham tulai, and one must bring an asham tulai, and one must bring a asham. And Reb Shimon says they both bring a katos and an asham, and Reb Yossi says two do not bring a katos and an asham. If there was a piece of caleb and a piece of sanctified caleb, if he ate one of them and did not know which one he ate, he must bring a katas. Rabbi Akiva says he must bring an asham tulai, and if he ate the second piece, he must bring 2 katos and an unconditional asham. If one ate the first piece and another came and ate the second piece, this one must bring a katos and one must bring a katos. Rabbi Akiva says this one bring an asham tulai and the other must bring an asham tulai. Rabbi Shimon says that one brings a katos and that one brings a katos, and both must bring one asham. Yossi says 2 do not bring 1 asham. If there was a piece of caleb and a piece of caleb that was nosur, if one ate of them and is not known which one of them he ate, he must bring a katos and an asham tulai. And if he ate the second piece, he must bring 3 katos. If one person ate the first piece and another came and ate the second piece, this one must bring a katos and an asham tulai, and that one should bring an katos and an asham tulai. And Reb Shimon says this one brings a katos, that one brings a katos, and both must bring a 3rd katos. Reb Yossi says any katos that comes from sin, he may not bring.
Two people may not bring it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 2 may not bring it. Right. Okay.
Okay, Arachin.
Vav base. If one consecrated his property and he was liable for his wife's ketubah or a debt to a creditor, the wife cannot collect the ketubah until from temple property, nor she can then the creditor collect his debt from him. Rather, the one who redeems it redeems it on the condition of giving the wife a ketubah on the credit to his debt. If one consecrated property worth 90 manas and his debt was 100 manas, he adds another dinner and he redeems his property with it, on the condition of giving the wife her ketubah on the condition of his credit to his debt. Although they said we secure payment from those obligated for each Erev vows, we will allow him food for 30 days, clothing for 12 months, and a bed made up with bedding, shoes, and tefillin for himself, but not for his wife and his children. If he was a craftsman, would they allow him 2 tools of each kind of carpenter to give him 2 planes and 2 swords? Reb Elliot says if he was a plowman, they give him from his yoke of he gives him his yoke of oxen, a donkey driver, they give him his donkey. If he had many of one kind, a few of another kind, we do not tell him to sell some of the many and to buy for himself some of the few. Rather, we give him 2 kinds of the many and whatever he has of the few. One consecrates his property, and they assess for him his tefillin.
Okay. Good. And Zvachim Yudalad Zayin.
When they came to Novin to give on, the Bamos were again permitted. The most holy offerings were eaten within the curtains, and the offerings of lesser holiness in all the cities of Israel. When they came to Yerushalayim, the Bamos were again forbidden and were never again permitted, and it was the inheritance, because most holy offerings are eaten within the curtains, and the offerings of lesser holiness and mitzvahs sheni within the walls surrounding Yerushalayim. All offerings which are consecrated during a period of Bama prohibition and which were offered outside a period of Bama prohibition are subject to a positive commandment and a negative commandment, and one incurs karas on their account. If they were consecrated during a period of Bama permissibility, but they were offered up during a period of Bama prohibition, they are subject to a positive commandment and a negative commandment. But one does not incur karos on their account. If one consecrated them during a period above and prohibitions, but offered them up during a period above and prohibitability, they are subject to a positive commandment. But are not subject to a negative commandment.
Yeah.
That's it. Tomorrow, stop with Sachem.
No, we'll get to Pesachim in a minute. It's
all right. We finish this tomorrow, so what we're going to do then?
Then it goes to Menachos.
Menachos, okay.
Okay. Gimel.
If one recognizes his utensils or his books as to another's possession and a report of the theft to come forth in the city concerning him, the purchaser must swear how much he paid, and he receives it. Otherwise, he does not avail himself. For I say, he sold them to another, and this one purchased from him. If this one came with his barrel of wine, and this one came with his jug of honey, and the jug of honey cracked, and this one swilled out his wine and saved the honey in it, he is entitled to only his wage. But if he said, I will save yours, and you pay for me mine, he was obligated to pay him. If a river swept away his donkey and another donkey is worth being 100 zuz and the other's 200, and he left his and his brother and saved the others, he's entitled only to his wage. But if he said to him, I will save yours and you pay me for mine, he is obligated to pay him. One who robs another of his field, and tyrants take it, if it is a plague of the province, and he may say to him, here is your property before you, and if it is because of the robber, he must provide him with another 50 with another field. If a river inundated, he may say to him, here is your property before you.
Okay. Now we can do Pesachim.
Okay. Tomorrow we're going to finish Bava Kama. We're going to the next one.
Yeah, Bava Metzia.
Right. Okay, Nida. I want to Pesachim first, or?
Pesachim.
Okay. The evening of the 14th of Nisan, we must search for the chametz by the light of a candle. Any place into which chametz is not brought does not require such a search. So why have the sages say 2 rows of a wine cellar must be searched? The Chachamim referring to a place into which a chametz is brought. But Shammai says 2 rows over the entire front of the wine cellar must be searched. But Beis Hillel says the 2 outer rows, which are the uppermost, are the uppermost. We need not be concerned about a weasel that may have dragged chametz from house to house or from place to place, for if so, then we would not have to be concerned from courtyard to courtyard, from town to town, and there would be no end to the matter. Rabbi Yehuda said, we may search on the evening of the 14th, or on the morning of the 14th, or on the time of the removal. The comments say, if one did not search on the evening of the 14th, he must search on the day of the 14th. If he did not search on the day of the 14th, he must search during the festival. If he did not search during the festival, he must search after the festival. That which he leaves over, he should place hiding so that it may not be necessary to watch for it again.
Okay. And Nida.
The case of a 20-year-old female who has not brought two pubic hairs, she shall bring proof that she is 20 years old, and she must exhibit the signs of an alanos. And then she neither performs chalitza nor is taken as a human wife. In the case of the 20-year-old male who has not produced 2 pubic hairs, he shall bring proof that he is 20 years old, and he must also exhibit the signs of saras. And then he neither performs chalitza nor takes his brother's widow as a human wife. But these are the words of Rebbe Hillel. But Shammai says the F's formal mentions apply to this female and to that male while they're 18 years old. From Eliezer says the law of the male accords with the opinion of Beis Hillel, and the law of the female accords with the opinion of Beis Shammai, for the woman hasten to come to physical maturity before the man. When the lower sign comes before the upper sign comes, a girl performs either chalitza or yibum. When the upper sign comes before the lower sign comes, even though this is not possible, the Meila says she performs neither chalitza nor yibum. But the comments say she performs either chalitza or yibum because they have said it is possible for the lower side to come before the upper side to come, but it is not possible for the upper side to come before the lower side. Similar to this, every earthenware vessel that's in liquid lets out liquid. There can be over earthenware vessel, but lets out liquid, but does not let in liquid. Every limb that has a fingernail on a bone, but there can be a limb that has a bone but does not have a fingernail.
Okay. So this parak is going to carry on with within the subject of Venn diagrams that look like concentric circles. Okay.
But not goes tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a
wonderful
great day. Thank you.